Eric Horn here with Clinton Yates, Jean-Jacques Taylor, and Bill Roden. And we are here after, look, y'all, let's keep it a buck. Colorado got smashed on Saturday, 37-21 by Kansas. Kansas is still running in Arrowhead Stadium. They ran for 333 rushing yards. I sent out something to you guys about what we learned in this game. And I don't know if I necessarily learned anything super enlightening, but I did see a great tweet from our ESPN colleague Max Olson that basically pointed out the fact that Kansas didn't even have to punt in this game.
Yeah.
And if you're not making anybody punt, that says a lot about not just where you are in that game, but where you stand in the hierarchy of college football. I think now it was a crazy Saturday across college football, but let's focus back in on Colorado and basically what they didn't do and what they did do in this game against Kansas.
Well, I think I learned that once again they haven't figured out how to get off to a good start on the road. They threw a pick a couple of weeks of last week and came from behind to get it done. They had a slow start this week when they got smashed by Nebraska. It was a slow start on the road. And, some of that's about focus and some of that's just about embracing the moment. That it can't just be your two stars. Everybody got to get with it and show up and be ready to play when the game starts.
Yeah, what we learn, I think I think, I'm not a big one for the cliche about we don't know how to win, but I do think there was something to what Dion said post game is that you do have to understand the moment. You have to learn how to win. Maybe they were, because I believe defense I mean, there's schemes in defense, but a lot of defense is desire, more so than offense. I think a lot of defense is desire and wanting it. And I think that it's possible that maybe they were listening too much to the outside noise, telling them how great they were, how they were favored, how they were supposed to win this. If you're Colorado, you're not supposed to win anything. You know, you know, and I was a little disappointed, though not necessarily surprised, because I was going to text you guys this. We've all seen this story before, where a story we were writing or a team that we were following comes a moment of truth, and they blow it. So now here we are. Last time we talked, we were talking about the Big 12 championship and making reservations. Now these cats they may be back to the wash-up bowl. So, here we are.
Okay. All right. Listen, there's a couple of things. Number one, I learned that the Big 12 media is smarter than a lot of people gave them credit for. Colorado was not picked to do that well this season. I think that a lot of people have sort of forgotten that because they have, frankly, overachieved on the wins front, that there are not other teams in this conference alone that are excellent. I mean, the story of Kansas and the Jayhawks football program, if we're talking writ large here about what we're looking at, is incredible. They're playing at Arrowhead Stadium because they made so much cash in the last 2 years as a result of Jalen Daniels running around, in Lawrence all day, that they're rebuilding their stadium. And so senior night going down where the Kansas City Chiefs play was something that was not planned when a lot of these guys got there. Jalen Daniels, if you don't know, was a great story just in general, long before any of this stuff came along. And I mean, Devin Neal being from Lawrence and running roughshod over people, these are the kind of stories that, for me, in college football, I love. The disappointment, so to speak, of the Colorado Buffaloes is one thing, but, the light being shown on so many different aspects of the game, I think, particularly these two brothers in the backfield for Kansas, really was kind of refreshing to see. They didn't luck up and win a game. They're a better football team right now. And that is something that when you watch that tape, you're going to realize is obviously always potentially the case for this current makeup of a Colorado team. So a lot of credit to Kansas, who not only did they win, played a good football game, matched energy from a standpoint of jawing and knowing they were on their home turf. Might have gotten a couple calls here and there early in that game. I'm thinking about that particular play that Travis was coming up in the seam, got held up a little bit, did not get the call, and it frankly seemed like their offense never got on track after that. I just want to give a lot of credit to the opponents who at this point are not being disrespectful, but are just playing football. This is not like Colorado State last year where they acted like there was no reason for there to be any discussion about it. Kansas knows they're good. They've beaten 3 ranked teams in a row from below 500. First time that's literally ever happened in college football. It's a pretty wild day on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing I was going to say, that Kansas is a good team, and Colorado couldn't match their physicality. You could
Yep.
see that, and sometimes that physicality went over the top, and it got into Colorado's head in certain instances. You see Shador kind of putting his hands on the ref. Can't have that. We also saw the cheap shot coming on Shador low and led with the helmet from the defensive end Miller from Kansas too. But Colorado didn't match their physicality all night, and as Clinton said, this is a team that's been on kind of a hot streak coming into this game. And as Dion said in post game, they didn't match the moment, and maybe they were getting a little bit, reading a little bit of their press clippings, and Kansas was saying, well, we're going to hit you guys in the mouth, and what's the old Mike Tyson saying? Not
Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
exactly what
exactly.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But shout out to Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I don't know how this devolved into a Mike Tyson conversation,
Yeah.
but
And the thing is, they've been getting everybody's best shot ever since last year because of the Dion factor. Everybody, my high school, everybody wants to beat them because of Dion. You could be 0-20, so everybody gets their best shot. And now, when you're really good, you talk about not matching the physicality. I just think it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment emotionally to understand who you are, that you're winning. Everybody wants to beat the hell out of you, and I don't know if it's fair to say they were surprised by the intensity,
But
but
I think you reached a good point because like you understand that because Dion is our coach, we get everybody's best shot. But once you start winning, that adds another layer of
right,
incentive. Like you had Kobe Bryant, the cornerback, talking trash in the middle of the week. I
right,
can't wait for this game. I had this circle. And so, it's, and other teams find this out. It just, when you start winning, it adds another level.
right,
I put on another note, I put something like that about Indiana. Like
yeah, right,
this year, you're a cute little story. Next year, they're going to be like, oh, this is Indiana. Let's get ready to strap it up and play. You don't sneak up on nobody, and you have to raise your attitude and your intensity because you're getting literally, everybody's working for you all week and all month and all year.
I,
yeah,
I want to say this though quickly. I don't want to get too caught up in what is effectively the idea of slaying the Dion giant. I think that one of the things people tend to misunderstand about college football is that there are not a ton of opportunities to get exposure in ways that otherwise don't exist. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of guys on that Kansas team that probably said, if I'm making it to the league, this is the game. It's not about whether or not one guy or another is talking trash to this, that, and a third. It's about eyeballs and your ability to maximize those moments. And like when I watch a lot of these games, as much as we sort of root for Colorado in the storyline, I'm not operating as in I'm solving for Dion. This is good for college football. And in this case, I think that it adds to the larger story of, yeah, there's a lot of guys out here that really can play. They're just spread out over a lot of different programs these days. And on
right,
any given Saturday, you might see somebody that says, well, damn, that guy might be playing on Sunday. And there's a little bit of that almost every week to what it is. And so I just want to make that clear that the product that I personally am enjoying comes from both sides of the ball because everybody is doing what they feel is their best, whether it necessarily has to do specifically with Dion or Shador or whatever. If I'm a wideout or if I'm a cornerback, I'm going up against Travis. If that guy's winning the Heisman, that means I'm on the tape. And so you don't want to make yourself look bad. You want to have the best performance for yourself. And I think that's one of the things that we kind of get too caught up in the wins versus the losses in terms of the personalities. The water, what is, I don't even know what this term is. I'm not a sailor, but all boats rise with the water level or whatever that is. That's very much what's happening here. And I think Kansas met the moment in a way that a lot of other teams can look at. You don't have to disrespect somebody to come in and win a football game. You don't have to act like it's your whole world. You can simply step up and be there because you are literally on the same playing field. And they learned that yesterday. And that's why, to what you said, Eric, Dion's point about being humbled. Sure, it had a lot to do with press clippings, but it also had to do with just playing football. They didn't look good. It wasn't as if there's some big injury and they just couldn't get into it or whatever. They didn't execute well. Kansas was on point. Kansas was physical. I thought they were going to lose this game, quite frankly, going into it. But the point is that from a building block standpoint, I'm very interested to see how they adjust simply in terms of how they execute next week. Because for all the grandeur of what the Big 12 championship could and could not have been, you still got to block and tackle. And that didn't happen very well yesterday. It was a poor fundamental game from Colorado. And I think ultimately that's the disappointment that's biggest for those, for real actual Buffalo fans, not just whether or not they won or lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that brings us to next week, and you know they're going to be playing a team next week that statistically is the worst in the Big 12. And it's putting them in a good position considering that some of the other teams in front of them or that are tied with them at the top of the Big 12 are games that are a little bit more challenging. Arizona State's got to play at Arizona. Houston's got to play at BYU's got to host Houston. Kansas State and Iowa State play. Kansas State's never an easy team, and they've beaten Colorado. So on paper, you're looking at it like, okay, Colorado has got their bounce back game coming. But how do they respond? That's what we want to see from them. That's what we have seen from them this year. Frankly, when they lose, they tend to come back and play pretty well. So take care of your business. Beat the worst team in the Big 12. Mike Gundy, send him packing. Oklahoma State is 0-8 in the Big 12, and they are bleeding points. And they have a good running back, but they haven't had one of the better running attacks in the Big 12 this year. Kansas comes in yesterday, and they're one of the best rushing teams in the Big 12. So
Yep.
you knew they were going to get yards on Colorado, but you didn't know it was going to be to this extent. Does the pride kick in for them next week since they still got something on the line?
Yeah. I think but to Clint's point, I guess I'll partially agree that um, I've not really been a huge college football fan
Yeah.
until the whole Dion thing. I'm fascinated by that. And you're right, on the way to that, you really see a lot of talent. I didn't know about this running back
Yeah.
from Kansas State. And, it was a revelation, but wasn't a revelation to people who watch it. They would like warn you about it. But I still think that I don't know if the players still appreciate the fact that they're getting everybody's best shot because of the bluster and head coach, in addition to Shador and to Travis. They're probably going to beat Oklahoma State, but they're going to get their best game. It could be like a whole nother team. A team that's 0-8 is going to play like a champion. So, um, it's like I said, the disappointment is that there was this moment and they didn't rise to the moment. And now they're hoping. They're hoping that Arizona State lose. You go from having your fate in your own hand to hoping now, hoping that Arizona State loses and hoping this and hoping that. So you know, we'll we'll see.
Oklahoma State is an interesting story too because they've lost 8 in a row and they won their first three. I mean, I think if I'm Colorado, and this is sort of me just speculating, borderline fanfic here. You've got to look at this as the game that literally retires Mike Gundy. If we've forgotten what Mike Gundy
Oh
has
yeah,
had happen this season, this
yeah,
is the guy that was literally calling his fans broke losers on a conference media call. Like that actually happened, as I stated in my column, like this dude is reeling and he's been there for daggone near 20 years and hasn't played for anything. So if you're looking for some sort of extra motivation beyond just the idea of we needed to get back in it, if I'm Prime, I'm saying get this guy out of the game because they just might fire him if he can't get one win coming out of this. And it also might salvage their season on some level if Gundy can, who is a known peacocker, can peacock around and say, well, at least I beat Dion. So there is some sort of internal motivation on this and not just kind of wallowing in the mire of, oh, no, we don't control our own destiny. There's a little bit of juice here, and the game's at home. So, final home game, kind of another character, frankly, before Prime entered the sort of scenario, Mike Gundy was the kind of coach that you looked at in college football and you just said, oh, I know who that guy is. That's the guy that's always yelling and screaming at the press conferences. I'm a man. I'm 40 and all that. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Like I'm quite, quite interested to hear what that guy has to say before this game kicks off.
It's very,
they're
very
also,
too
even though
American.
they stink this
Yeah.
year, they have been notoriously a really innovative offensive team that scores a
Correct.
lot of points. Matter of fact, they're the good time boys. They score a lot, they give up a lot. And so I think it'll probably be an entertaining game. They just Colorado just has to have their defense show up this week. It's not going to be a good day, good week of practice this week for Colorado because
No.
Deion, Sapp, Livingston, all those guys are going to be on edge because they understand that when you play in Oklahoma State and they got nothing to lose, they already a gadgety type team. You liable to see anything this week.
Yeah.
What
Would you
we
say two Americas situation, Eric?
I like it. Yeah.
Completely. I mean, I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds about that, but
Right.
the contrast is stark. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I remember, was it, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago? The Oklahoma State coach, I mean, who's clearly a right winger, was he had some type of T-shirt he was wearing, and one of his players spoke out about it, and again, he put him on probation or something like that. So he identified himself for me a long time ago as
Yeah, I
just
mean,
like,
what I was saying there, Bill, is that Gundy is one of the characters of the game,
yeah,
very much on the level that Dion is on. I mean, like if I'm naming coaches that I think are characters right off the top of my head, Gundy's on the medal stand, which
yeah,
is why I think that there's a possibility if this turns into sort of a war of words, you know what I mean, like early in the week, I don't think that bodes well for what the Buffaloes are trying to do more largely. I'm not like super concerned about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little midweek chirping between the head coaches. I wouldn't even hate that. I mean, this is again what I personally am here for is the
Right.
entertainment element, but I hope
right,
it just doesn't filter down to the squad, is what I'm getting at.
yeah,
No. Well, Dion won't start it, but he don't mind finishing it.
No,
Because as he
exactly.
referred
Right.
to himself last week, he can be the pettiest of the petty when provoked.
yeah. And you know what's interesting too, and this is kind of, you know, per the column you wrote about the Dion haters, automatically online. I mean, it was it was all an online deluge, talking about Dion and the program,
Yeah.
which speaks to the point. And I was thinking of Ali and people like that, that when you put that target on your back, you know, everybody wants to beat you, So, and if I'm in that program, you could never take that for granted. That same reason why the committee, I'm sure, would love if they could any way they can manufacture. They probably would love to have Colorado in the championship game
Oh yeah.
because of that circus, the carnival. It's not about X's and O's. It's about, man, we love that road show. Unfortunately, we had it all laid out for you.
Right, right.
Here you go.
Bill is upset, dog. He wanted that. He wanted
Come on,
that
man.
win. I could tell.
Clint, it's about the story, man. I don't know if when you talk to athletes, and they're
Yeah.
sometimes amazed to the extent to which we are pulling for the story. The man ain't
Oh,
about you. It's about the story.
No, it's a good point. I think for me though, the story hasn't gotten that much worse. The story didn't take a big hit for me. This is still, as I said, a resounding success, more largely about what happens in Colorado in terms of Boulder, how everybody else views that program, and just kind of the fun it's been. We've gotten a character or two or three that we're never going to forget for these past
Right.
couple years of college football. And I don't think that changed just because they got popped in the mouth by the Jayhawks. Okay, they might not make the Big 12 championship. The story of the playoffs is going to be bigger than any one team anyway, as we've seen by the chaos that was set Saturday. They're 8-3, bro. It's not like they're stumbling and fumbling along. This has been, again, a resounding success at a discount rate for Deion
yes.
Sanders.
Yeah.
Did-
Look, a
I
little,
had a question for JJT, and I was just thinking about this in regard to the bowl game. Um, obviously Shador and Travis are going to be guys that are going in the top 10, whatever, in the NFL draft. And when I see Shador take that hit yesterday, that cheap shot, I
Yeah.
start thinking about, okay, are these guys is the Oklahoma State game going to be potentially these guys' last game in college? Because if they don't make the playoff, they're going to be playing in a bowl game, or they don't make the Big 12 championship, they're going to be in a bowl game. So JJT, would these guys play in the bowl game? Would Dion have these guys play, or would he have them sit out since we know they're going pro?
I just had a friend of mine ask me that question last night. And I said, I think they're playing because they would be trying to help the program and give it that week long send off. And Colorado hadn't been to a bowl in a long time. It's a big deal to get to a bowl, and it's kind of like a coronation of what we did in the 2 years we were here. Now they might not play long, but I think they'll be there for the week, and I think they'll play. But it's a very tricky situation. And I'm not sure that going forward you'll see their star players playing in bowls because, you're talking to the one of the great business decision makers of all time. But I think for this particular situation, given what they're trying to do with the program, given the heights that they're trying to take it, given the lack of success that they've had, this would be probably your last year to see their star players playing in a bowl game, especially one that they go end up playing in, like the Snoop Dogg Gin and Juice Bowl. That's why I got us targeted.
Wow. You want to
And
be
that's
in you want to be
28th.
in Long Beach. Okay.
That's in Tucson on the 28th. I see it right now.
I
Snoop
will
and
say
Dion.
this though, to that concept of guys not playing in bowls. There's a couple of things about that, which is normally that is the case for guys who are, I don't want to say marginal, but people who players who rather really probably could make a huge dip if they were not immediately available. I think that the product you're selling with Shador and with Travis is a little different. They're known quantities. So if there's an injury, it's not that all of a sudden you think a guy's not going to be able to play or he's going to fall off your map radar wise. I don't think that they're kind of moving from the same point as I don't know, like Garrett Blunt or somebody like that. You know who I'm thinking of as guys that just didn't play. Like, you know what you got with these dudes, number one. Number two, I do think there's an element of all of the other players on the team that if Prime is really looking at this as a team game in the context of everybody getting that shine, everybody getting that exposure, nobody looks as good if the other guys aren't out there. And that would be doing a disservice to the teammates who have helped make them good as well. One of the things they pointed out that was tremendous in the telecast yesterday was the development of freshmen over the course of the season in terms of who they were. Not everybody necessarily came in as a 4 or 5 star, but their production level moved up. I don't think that if you think about the plan of to get everybody better, not just his kids, it would make sense to sit them out entirely from a bowl game, even though it is an exhibition. Because again, the eyeballs to potentially get to the next level, to potentially get more money, are still very much going to be in play by the time postseason play comes along.
I think if it's because Deion's their dad, I think that changes the whole calculus they're going to play. But I think if it's the Big 12 championship game, I think they play. They play because of everything y'all just said, the legacy, the historic component, all that they play. Now, if it's the face bowl game or something like that, as JJT pointed out, whether Deion's the best decision maker of all time, I think he's very practical and maybe understands that. But they're all part of this road show, and I think that's what we've been talking about these past 3 or 4 years. This is a road show, so if they do go to a bowl game, everybody wants to see the road show game. But are you going to? Does that mean if I'm Shador and I'm Travis, do I really want to play and get some kind of freak injury? I would hate to see that. But
Well, I think the mentality has been forged by Deion, and his mentality is, whether you agree or not, it's really to finish. And that's why
Right.
even when he was at Jackson State, that's why it was such a big deal. I know I got this Colorado job. I'm here. I'm not leaving till the job is finished. And I think for this particular season, with this particular team, it's not really finished until you go to the bowl game and start the whole new conversation about Colorado. We're no longer a raggedy, Rudy Poop college team. We like on the come, we coming, and it starts with here getting a bowl trip and a bowl win.
He's also never won a bowl game. So there's that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Might want to get a dub. You know what I mean?
Right.
Quickly, I just want to say this here right now. The Alamo Bowl is the bowl they're going to play in, I think. In Dallas, at Jerry World. That's the bowl I could see them. That's what my bowl projection crystal ball, if you will. That's the bowl I got them in.
Against who? Do you know who? Does it matter? Do we know?
It don't matter.
I think they play. I think that would be. I don't know who the other conference is in the Alamo Bowl, but I think that's the bowl. Going to be the bowl, and that would be a good one in Dallas. That's a good show. You know what I mean? Like that for me, that sort of satisfies. What we're looking at as the college. USC's played in that bowl a couple of years. I mean, that's not a bum bowl, and that's especially ever since they moved it to the big. The house that JJT built, it's got a little bit more, sort of caliber than it used to when it was in that old dump in Dallas.
And he could just stay, and Deion could just stay in Dallas, so he can move right into the Cowboys.
There we go with this.
Job
Yeah.
Y'all, breaking news, y'all. The Alamo Bowl's in San Antonio.
Is it? I thought,
Yeah.
what bowl am I thinking of?
Yeah, the Alamo.
I don't know.
No.
Remember the Alamo?
You talking about the All Forces Bowl is in Frisco.
Hold
I'm
on.
telling you,
What's the?
I got him going to
Win one,
Tucson
win one
because
for
Snoop is there.
I'm thinking of a different bowl. Hold on. Not hold on, but what is the bowl that's played in? Oh no, never
Cotton.
mind.
That's the
Anyway, I
Cotton
think it's
Bowl.
going to be the Alamo Bowl, but whatever. Yeah, because that's the second choice Big 12 team comes from the Alamo Bowl.
Okay.
He can still stay in the state of Texas.
I'm
Yeah,
The state
that's
of
more so
Texas.
what is important. Yeah.
I'm pro San. I'm pro Riverwalk. I like the food in San Antonio. But I am pro Dallas because JJT could take us around and show us what it's all about.
I ain't going nowhere in Dallas with JJT. His ops are all over the place. I don't need people looking for me in
Come
Dallas.
on, man. We'd have a good time. Take
We
this
would have
Kenny
a
to
good time.
X.
That would be great. That
Yeah.
would be great.
All
Uh,
right, guys. I think we're good. But thanks for doing this again. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll have some fireworks
I will
for
not
you.
be back next week. I got kids to raise. See y'all
Clinton,
later.
Clinton Yates will not be back this week, but we will see y'all next week on Andscape.com. Thanks for joining us.
All right.